I just arrived in 2023. I've got to find Doc. Oh my God, there's Councilmember Beck. Doc!
I hope the time machine worked. Marty went back to 1948 when the city was first created. Find out what changed in the last 80, 75 years. My math isn't very good, but I'm a scientist. Things certainly have changed around here. I remember when this was all farmland as far as the eye could see. And old man Gene Maxwell had this idea of growing like blueberries or raspberries when he maybe should have been thinking about medical marijuana back then. He had this crazy idea about breeding raspberries. All this has changed today. This just isn't good.
Doc, I gotta find Doc. I'll keep the DeLorean at Progressive Kurt Rolf Agency. Scooters? Hopkins has scooters now? This is amazing. Out of the way, Councilmember Garrido. Doc! Doc's in the Art Center. Doc, has anyone seen Doc?
Doc! Great Scott, Mark! I'm glad you're back. I think you're caging here and we need to stop.
What's going on, Doc? That doesn't sound like you.
Well, I was just down the street and there's bears drinking in a cave. And they're supposed to be hibernating. I think we need to get to Edina because Edina would never allow bears in a cave. And there's light rail transit coming and there's people and I just don't like people. There's more apartments coming and there's more people and I don't like people. And there's these scooters. I trip over them. Oh, there's a scooter now. And worst of all, do you remember that little kid that used to fall asleep in the booths at the Boston Garden?
Yeah, that chubby little kid who used to wear his sister's hand-me-down clothes.
Yeah, that's him. He's our mayor now. Can you guys believe that?
Oh, no, Doc. That is horrible. But Doc, wait. That's what I had to tell you, Doc. From 1948, Hopkins wasn't a raspberry field or a sleepy little town. It was a bustling city. It had the biggest population in the West Metro. I've seen it. They had all sorts of modes of transportation: cars, trolleys, trains, antique bikes. Well, they were new bikes at the time, but people were living above Main Street, Doc. They had parades, they had family festivals, and all the storefronts on Main Street were full. People were going to and from Minneapolis on the trolleys. They went from here to places to work, like at the Moline.
The Moline. It's an apartment now. More people. Although it does look quite nice. And they did a really nice job on it.
They did do a nice job on that. Doc, what I think I'm trying to say is with all the changes going on here in Hopkins, we were a bustling city on a train line in 1948. And now we're returning to a bustling city on a train line.
Now that you mention it, Marty, it was a pretty great place, and it seems as Hopkins is actually heading back to the future. And you know what? I need to take a break and go see the police chief because he was kind of looking at your DeLorean and he thinks he can get it into 2024 budget. And that's just not going to work. I'll be back. I think I'm going to go this way.
Professional acting. There you go. Yeah. So my name is Patrick Hanlon. I'm the mayor of Hopkins. And I was the chubby little kid in hand-me-down clothes sleeping in the booths of our family restaurant. Welcome to the State of the City 2023. This is so great to be back in person. It's been 2 years since we've been able to do this. And I want to start off by thanking all of you who took the time out of your busy day to come here, and it's not easy to do in the winter with everything that you all have going on, so thank you for being here this evening. I want to give a special shout out to our local restaurants who provided all the food here this evening. Yes. Let's be honest, most of you wouldn't be here if it weren't for them. And I want to thank city council members and city staff who created tonight's event. It's a lot of planning that goes into this, so thank you to them. I say thank you to Councilmember Hunke for being here this evening. Councilmember Ballin. And we had the cameo from Alan Beck's cutout, which was nice of him. He loaned us that for the photo shoot because he couldn't make it tonight. And then Councilmember Garrido has a very important meeting with Met Council this evening, so she also couldn't make it. And I just want to say thanks to her. Thanks to Commissioner Chris Latondras for being here this evening. Former Mayor Jason Gadd in the back. You're not hiding. Thank you. Former Councilmember Christy Halverson. I didn't see you. You're on my list. Where is she at? Hey. Former Councilmember Jim Shirley. Hey, thank you. And former Mayor Nelson Berg. Thank you. And anyone else, that's all I have on my list. Does anyone else feel important enough to be recognized? Okay, all right. So tonight we have a brief presentation to just recap what we've been doing over the course of the last couple years. And I think you'll agree with me that council and especially city staff have been very busy providing service to you here in Hopkins. So I hope we can highlight that. But before we get into that, I want to invite Hopkins Business and Civic Association President Danny McDonald up to say a few words if you could. Yeah, the mic's right there, sorry. I could be your IT too. It should have a little button on there. There you go.
How about that? Oh, hello. Hot mic. All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Danny McDonald. I am the owner of Danny McDonald State Farm on 19th and Main Street, as well as the president of the new president of the Hopkins Business Association here in town. I, for one, could not be more grateful, honored, nervous to be standing up here. My wife's the actress in the family. I don't belong up here. I love this whole theme of Back to the Future here tonight. As a relatively newcomer to Hopkins, we just opened in November of 2021. I don't know all the history that was shared. I have just always kind of idolized this town for what it is. And when I first started to join the business association, I talked to my aunt, who runs a business association in another part of town that I grew up in. And she said that joining this kind of group would be like pulling teeth. It's going to be really hard to herd business owners together, and it's going to be a pain in your rear, but bless you for doing it. Thrilled to say that is not what I found here. The business owners here in town, the community here in town is so excited to work together to support this town. And I hope you all have felt that between Halloween in Hopkins, where we were blessed with amazing weather and everybody and their cousins showed up. The only problem we had was holiday in Hopkins. It was too warm for all of our inside activities, so everybody was outside. So that was not too bad either. So I'm really excited going forward. I think, one of the big things, business used to be done face-to-face, together, helping our neighbors, supporting one another. And I'm really excited for that energy that we have in this group. And all the other business owners in town are really excited to kind of support y'all and try to give back in any way that we can. So thank you to everyone.
Thank you, Danny.
Oh, and thanks for the lack of an introduction.
What's that?
Thanks for the lack of an introduction.
Yeah. And I just want to say that Danny has brought so much energy to his role here. It is no small feat, as he mentioned, to be pulling folks together. And our small businesses really are the core of Hopkins, our Main Street businesses. And so your energy that you have brought to the city is so needed and so helpful. So thank you for everything that you've done and are doing. Yeah. So this is the first time, as I mentioned, that we were back in person after the event that rocked the world that I'm not even going to name. I'm not even going to go there. We're not going to talk about it. It's just great to be back in person. It's great to be back with all of you. We started off this year in 2022 with some innovative, or with some funds from the American Rescue Plan Act. We call it ARPA. Over $2 million came to the city of Hopkins for the event that I will not mention. And throughout the year, city staff and city council have been working together, and we have come up with some innovative programs. This is going to be a unique part of this presentation that we're going to be pointing. Some innovative programs that will provide service to all of you here in Hopkins. And one of the first things that we did was make sure that we have an additional police officer on duty so that our Hopkins police, who the people in this community love because of their community policing approach, that they have the resources they need to do their jobs and to protect you in the community. One of the next things that we did is we worked with some partners to implement a community safety program championed by our police department, again, with the Hopkins Public Schools, Hennepin County, ICA, Resource West, and Met Council. And we came up with some innovative programs, including a youth-focused social worker. We are the first city in the metro area to have that service, and we're very proud of it. So it will be a youth-focused social worker that can work with youth specific to issues that are going on with them. So we're really proud of all the partners that came together around that and where that program is going from there. We also are funding a workforce development program for youth. A lot of youth-focused programs because they are very important to the future of this city. And so it's a program to help with internships and eliminating the barriers to employment. We also created a Green Cost Share Fund, which is a climate fund for energy efficiency and renewable energy. It's both for residents and for small business. And in 2023, we hope to create the best climate change fund in the state with that program. Thank you. I'm going to call on you for that too. We're funding economic development grant programs, mini grants for small businesses. Again, small businesses are so important to this city and making sure that they have the resources to have upkeep of their businesses on Main Street and throughout Hopkins. And then there's also things that are maybe not as sexy of replacing revenue for the Hopkins Arts Center, but this is an important institution in our city and making sure that it has the funds to run. The Hopkins Pavilion and Parking Fund. I'm not going to go through all those, you can see them, but we're also funding equity work, doing equity assessment and training for staff to take a look at our staff, our diversity within our staff, and seeing what areas we may need improvement as the city changes and how we best provide service. And then we're also, what I'm really excited about is there's a mural project that's going to be going on, working with local artists, and looking at some of the wall fronts that we have in Hopkins that can create some unique murals along Main Street that are tastefully done. And I'm looking forward to seeing everything take shape with all of the programs that we started this year and now need to be executed on and implemented in the coming year. So you're going to be seeing all of these programs out in the community, and I hope you like them as much as I do. Now, switching gears a little bit, I have to say that it's a good thing that we allocated the ARPA funds to an additional planner to have some help with our planning, because we have a lot of economic development going on in Hopkins. We have three light rail stations which are driving a lot of development in this city, over $1 billion of development in this city. Like I said, we're returning to a bustling city on a train line. Doc really wouldn't know where he was if he went back to the future just a few years from now on the Blake Road corridor, because it's already pretty unrecognizable, in which will be a very good way. So this is the Trilogy Real Estate Group. Broke ground on phase 1 and phase 2 of the Hallen project, which is Swedish for raspberry, which is pretty cool. The Hallen is a 3-phase mixed-use development. This is where my wife always tells me I get wonky, but I love the details of this. It's a 6.4-acre site on the northwest corner of Blake Road and Excelsior Boulevard, right next to the light rail station. The development will provide 219 market-rate apartments, including studios, 1, 2, and 3-bedroom units, which is really needed in the city for allowing for bigger families to move to this city. It's also we made sure that there's 2,000 feet of commercial space in that development so that we maintain retail here, because our small businesses are important. I'm just going to keep going back to that. Phase 2 is a 250 unit, or wherever I'm pointing. Phase 2 is a 7-story building, again, 1, 2, 3-story apartments, and has 10,000 feet, so almost 5 times as much commercial space that we can keep bringing retail into Hopkins. The third phase of this project is planned for the future, and there's no set date on it. You'll expect phase 2 to be completed in the summer of 2024. So you're going to see some developments at this site in the very near future, which we're very excited about. Along Blake Road corridor is 325 Blake Road development. This is a marquee development in Hopkins. This is very cool. The City of Hopkins, Minnehaha Creek Watershed District, Lattice are working together and have been working together, so thank you for all the work that everyone has been involved with this over years to make this project come to fruition. It's a 17-acre site, so much bigger, multi-phase development consisting of 850 units. And really, if you're looking at a development in your city, this project has everything that you would want in it. It has affordable housing. It has senior living. It has ownership opportunities. It has what we've never had here in Hopkins before is access to the creek again, to the river. It's going to be creating a public space and a water feature that we've never had in Hopkins. It's going to be a marquee building here in Hopkins. In fact, the top floor of the development has a sight line into Minneapolis, and that's going to be open to the public as well. So that's just going to be a very cool project for our city right on the light rail line. And me explaining the project is probably not as good as if you saw a video of the actual project, which would be much more entertaining. And so why don't you jump into my DeLorean, and we will take a look at the future of that project, a video rendering of Lattice. As you can see, it's going to be very cool when that project is completed. In fact, I looked at that and I said, hey, does a Lattice really build? You know, I mean, the designs are nice, the architecture is nice. Can they really build what they say they're going to build? And you know, the response from people who have worked with them in the past is yes, they build exactly as that rendering is showing us. So that's going to be a great project for Hopkins. Blake Road isn't the only areas of Hopkins, as you know, seeing development. The Trellis Company brought in new housing to downtown Hopkins with the Burns Building. It's a 4-story building on Main Street, as many of you have seen. 43 of the apartments, including 1, 2, again, 3 bedroom units, and they are affordable housing. And when I say affordable, I mean housing that teachers can afford, housing that firefighters, entry-level firefighters can afford. These are working professionals that can afford to live in these units, and it's very important that we have that housing as well here in Hopkins so that folks can afford to live in this city. And as you can see, it's a beautiful rendering. We talked about murals earlier. This building is dedicated to Kate Burns. They called her Doc Kate. And you talk about the history is important to this city. And Doc Kate was a very important figure in this city. She was the first woman to receive a medical degree at the University of Minnesota, the first. And she was the first doctor here in Hopkins in the late 1800s. And when I say the first doctor, I don't mean the first woman doctor. She was the first doctor in this city. And so she's a very important figure. When you see that, that mural to her, it's to pay homage to what she brought to this city. And I know many folks are anxious about the Hopkins movie theater. I'm going to put away my script for a little bit. You've seen the developments that are going on with the Hopkins movie theater. And I know that staff has been working for years to try to keep that theater here. And we've reached out to the Mann Theater, we've reached out to developers, we've reached out to as many folks as we can to try to keep a theater on Main Street, and that has been important to all of us to do. And at some point, we had to make the decision of what is more important, is to have a vacant theater on Main Street, or to have a development come in and make use of that space and to provide housing, like we talked about, housing over Main Street, over commercial space, and that folks can be on Main Street and can support our local businesses like the ones that were in the back hallway. I'm sure many of them would tell you that they would love to have more people living on Main Street. And so this was not a development that we made a decision easily. And so this development, I think we're very proud of what we came to in meeting with Enclave. It's going to be 150 units of market rate development. And there's going to be, we made sure that there is still that commercial space on Main Street, and so that we still have commercial space there and bring in new businesses. The construction is slated to begin in the fall of 2024. We wanted to make sure that we kept that marquee look to the property. So we talked to the architect, or talked to the developer about making sure that the architecture paid homage to the theater site. And even if we can protect, if we can save that theater marquee, they're looking into ways to do that. There's also going to be art installations around the project to be inviting on Main Street. We negotiated with them to make sure that there's solar on the development, and so that it's a sustainable building and using sustainable energy, clean energy. And then the other piece that we negotiated with them, because having a theater culture on Main Street is important to us, and we've been trying to keep, is that they sponsor movie nights in this theater. We have a theater, and you're sitting in it. And so we're working with them to sponsor movie nights here in Hopkins, community cinema, wherever they're at. Thank you for all the work that you've done around that. In fact, we're going to be, thank you. I don't know where he went. So thank you, Matthew Miller, wherever you're at. Oh, there you are. Okay, thank you. And stop by the desk and visit him on the way out if you can. If you need signatures, right? Yeah. Looking for people to sign up? Okay. Yeah, and money. Right? And so, yeah, we want to keep theater here in Hopkins, and we have a theater, and so we're going to be doing a screening of Back to the Future in congruence with tonight's theme, and so we're going to test it out tonight by showing that movie. All right, next up is our historic designation. Like I said, history is important to Hopkins. We have over $1 billion in development going on, and one thing that we have all heard from all of you is that our historic downtown Main Street is important to the city. And so staff work to get our city listed on the National Register of Historic Places. It's worthy of preservation for its significance in American history, architecture, archaeology, engineering, and culture. So thank you to all the Hopkins Historical Society, Kirsten Elverum, who made that possible so that we can protect what's important to us as we grow. So that area is 32 buildings between 8th and 11th Avenues. Sustainability. If I can find my notes. So we want to ensure, one of the things that we look at as we're having lots of developments is to make sure that the buildings that we're building now are not old as we're building them, that we're building buildings for the future, that we're building sustainable buildings. So we're going to be looking at in the next couple months sustainable building policies, looking, as we talked about, keeping Hopkins affordable, looking at affordable housing, mixed income policies, and so that we can make sure that this place is an affordable place to live, that's sustainable, that the buildings that we're building are sustainable. One thing that we achieved this year is Green Step Cities 4. We haven't touched that since 2013, and Peggy Sue, who's not here, Amihi Bean, did a great job of getting us as a Green Step 4. The top step is Step 5. We're going to go get that. We're going to make the city a Green Step 5, one of the few cities in this state be a Green Step 5 city. Our forestry division is planting a lot more trees right now because we have a disease, as you've probably all seen, called emerald ash borer that's coming through. And so we're going to be planting a lot more trees around Hopkins and looking for ways to help replace some of those trees. We are applying for Xcel Energy's Partners in Energy program. So really take a serious look at our energy use in Hopkins and what we can do to reduce our burden, our impact on the planet. As I mentioned, we developed the Green Cost Share program. It's going to help all of you have some of the tools in your own homes when you're replacing furnaces, replacing air conditioners, getting solar panels on your roof, to have some tools, and by tools I mean money, to help you actually do that. We're looking at working with Xcel Energy on electrifying our fleet, our own fleet here in Hopkins. And we're having conversations right now with Xcel Energy, the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, on utilizing our 27-acre dump site that we have here that's going to be visible from the light rail transit, that we want to make sure that we can put that to use. So we're looking at park options for that site and also the ability to do what's called bright field, so to put solar panels on that site, because right now it is unusable by our city. Diversity and inclusion. This community is 40% non-white. And so we're making strides to make sure that we are getting all of the voices heard at the table as we grow and as we develop. We started by taking the simple process of getting our newsletter out to folks in rental situations. 90% of our BIPOC community rents. And we had not had our city updates going out to those folks in the past, so that's a simple step that we've taken this year. We've reignited conversations with our Hopkins Race and Equity Initiative, and so that we can pull that group together and advise us and bring more voices to the table so that they can advise us on things that are going on here in Hopkins. We're looking at our own operations and how does our own staff represent the community in which we serve. And so we're looking at ways to diversify our staff from our police force, public works, and administration. And the next piece is another historic piece is our park plan. We have never had a park plan here in Hopkins. And so that has been underway. The city's park system is a priority to ensure everyone in this community has access to a park, and that's not true for all of our city. And so we're making strides with this park plan to make sure that everyone has access to parks and quality parks. The plan will guide the future of Hopkins for the next 20 years, and it's due to be completed this summer. So thank you to anyone who's been involved with that process. Thank you for the work that you've done around that. You can clap for that. So the city staff, park board, and consultant teams have been working hard gathering community input. Please look on our website and you can find more information on that, and please provide input on that so that you can have input on the parks here in Hopkins. And it's really amazing undertaking that we've done this year.
Marty,
Q.
Guess what? The DeLorean is safe because the chief didn't know how to drive it. I don't know, I think the chief left. But I got some breaking news. The city manager of Edina's out there, and they found classified documents at Mayor Hovland's house.
What?
And they found, and the city of Edina did not incorporate, they did not send the documents into the state, so Edina now is part of Hopkins. What do you think of that?
Wait, hold on. They want to give Edina to us?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, they can keep Edina.
Yeah.
They can keep Edina.
All right, Marty, I get the picture. The city of Hopkins is doing great.
Hey, Mike, it's all true.
What's all true?
Oh, I forgot to mention that. That's our new city. We rebranded our marketing campaign with the Hopkins Business and Civic Association to the campaign of Think Hopkins, It's All True. Because all of the things that you've seen tonight, all of the great things that are happening here in Hopkins, it's all true. And so you should be very proud of the work that folks here in the city staff have been undertaking, the work that city council has been doing this past year to make all of this true. And you're going to be seeing a lot of these programs being rolled out in the next couple of years here, and you should be very proud of the city that you live in. You read on the history is important to us. I'll say it again. You read the history of Hopkins, and they'll write up that the heyday of Hopkins was in the 20s to the 50s, and I don't think that's true. I think the heyday of Hopkins is right now. This is the best time to have ever been living in Hopkins with everything that we have going on. And that all has to do with you. This community is engaged. You folks are coming out tonight. You're providing input on all of these different plans that we have going on. Everything that's been going on in Hopkins has a large part to do with you. So please stay active in your community because that is important. So thank you all for coming out tonight. I hope you enjoy our first screening, our first movie here in the theater. And so thank you all for coming out tonight, and I hope you have a good night. Thanks.